Welcome to the ESP bite size for task 2 of the T-level education and childcare T-level. I'll begin this bite size session by highlighting that it's incredibly important that students must not start task 2A until the cohort has completed task 1. Given that task 1A and task 1B are the students' independent work on their support plan, it's important that all the students have independently completed those two tasks before they share those plans with one another in task 2A. This may come into your planning of your ESP, ensuring that you leave enough of a gap between task 1 and task 2 for allow for any absences or students who were not, for whatever reason, able to complete the task in the time frame that you had planned. Tutors should assign each student to a peer discussion group for task 2. Each group should be made up of 3 to 5 students, and tutors may consider the room or space available and cohort sizes when you determine the number of students within a group. Students must discuss their proposed activity plan with their peers to support their planning of the activity. Therefore, making sure that the students are in a group that they feel comfortable with and safe to discuss their work can help in this task. Let's have a look at each part of task 2 in a little bit more detail. So for task 2AI, which is the peer discussion for activity planning, tutors must give the students their activity plans from task 1B, and you must do that for each of the students in their peer discussion group. So each student will have a copy of the plans. The students are required to work independently in this task and under supervised conditions to complete the preparation for peer discussion pro forma provided. And you can see that on the screen now. In the top box where it says student name, they will complete that for the with the student name who is being given the peer feedback. So my name is Sarah and I'm completing this form. It won't be my name that I'm putting on there. If I am observing Rachel, the student name that I would write at that top would be Rachel. And within the activity plan, it's just a brief description of what the student has included. The students must read the activity plans that they have been given by the tutor and complete a preparation for peer discussion form. There is no time limit for this task. The tutors are available to plan the time frame needed, which is appropriate for their students. The tutors should review the preparation for peer discussion performers that each student produces. And this is to ensure that there is sufficient detail provided to enable fair access for all students during the peer discussion. As the tutor, you can provide oral guidance to highlight where improvements can be made to the preparation for peer discussion performer so that all students are in a good and fair position for the next task. You are allowed to lead students, for example, giving them specific feedback on each of the questions where the student has not sufficiently completed the performer. Practicing peer discussion in class, in college before this task can really support the success of the students. Following your feedback, students can revise and redraft their work before you review it again. And that's why there's no time limit for this task. It's the discretion of the tutor and based on the cohort size and how they approach that feedback. Tutors should manage the completion of task 2A as part of your planning for delivery of task 2 and ensure that sufficient time is included in your overall ESP plan. For task 2A, the student should be provided with a hard copy, a printout of their own activity plan from task 1B. Again, students are not allowed to make any amendments to their work from task 1B during the completion of 2AI. Students will complete the preparation element of this task within 20 minutes of supervised assessment time. Tutors must ensure when you are supervising the assessment that each student within the group provides feedback, and you can do this by prompting students based on the content of the pro forma from task 2AI. During the discussion, each student will have a maximum of 5 minutes to lead a presentation on the detail of their activity plan, with a further 20 minutes, so approximately 4 minutes per other group member, allocated to giving the feedback to the lead student. Students must complete handwritten notes of the feedback they receive from each group member on the feedback from peer discussion form, and this activity must be repeated for each student. That then brings us to task 2B, which is the feedback from peer discussion form and the amendments or improvements, adjustments to their original plan. Students are required to work independently for task 2B and under supervised conditions to reflect on the feedback received from their peers and update their activity plan accordingly. Students should reference each piece of feedback received in their summary of changes, and the students will complete this task within 1 hour of supervised assessment time. To succeed in this task, students must reflect on the feedback that they have received. They must write down and record how they will update their activity plan. Reference any comments made during the peer discussion, which has influenced their adjustments and forms part of their reflection. And they must justify the feedback that they decide to act on, as well as the feedback that they decide not to use. It's important that students are amending and updating the plans. Examples of adapted plans that would meet the criteria where they had used peer feedback. They would demonstrate justification of the amendments and include the feedback they chose not to use as well. This may include, they may show this by including it in bold font where the amendments are, or they may also choose to underline it. Students may also use to include their amendments at the end of their plan, clearly stating that this was their peer feedback and the changes that they had made as a result of that. It's important that students ensure that when they save their amended version, that is saved as their amended plan, so second copy of activity 1B, and that everything has got their name on it appropriately.